You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOCDALI. So Joe Rogan had Mel Gibson on his popular podcast. And in January 2025, Mel Gibson claimed that 3 of his friends who had stage 4 metastatic cancer were cured by using an off-label medical regimen. Now, I remember when he talked about this. Mel Gibson was one of my favorite actors until he went off on an anti-Semitic rant. Still a gifted actor. I'm still a fan of his acting, and I know he apologized and he spoke to Jewish leaders and all that, but he knows to go off the handle, and I've seen him in interviews. He sometimes just doesn't seem to be as smooth as he used to be. And so I understand people are like, oh, he's crazy, but what he's talking about is ivermectin and fenbendazole. And so Mel Gibson claimed that all 3 of his friends took for their cancer ivermectin, which is an anti-parasite that I studied at the EPA when we were looking at parasites in cows, and became very well known in the COVID fight. And then fenbendazole, which is a veterinary dewormer, again, also an anti-parasite. It's not approved in humans. But Mel Gibson claimed, not that he's a physician, but he claimed that his friends no longer have the disease. Now, prescription requests and demand skyrocketed. Apparently, the steepest increases, according to New York Post, were in young men, white patients, and those in the South. Among cancer patients, prescription rates were more than 2.5 times higher. In the South, they surged from 3 times their 2024 levels. Why is something like this not more well known? What's going on? Well, the problem is we don't have a lot of human trials or clinical trials. We don't have enough. This is difficult because when you have somebody with cancer, you don't have a lot of time. The clock is ticking. And to see if a anti-helminitic or an anti-parasite works, you almost have to then dissect out the other medications. You have to then go, well, we're going to try this, and then we're going to try this. And how long do you try for? 6 months? A year? We don't have a lot of time. And so we don't have a lot of clinical trials. Why would they think fenbendazole, a veterinary dewormer? Well, because some of the evidence shows, now this is in animal studies, that it may have anti-cancer properties by disrupting cancer cell metabolism, inhibit the sugar uptake by these cancer cells, induce apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, and they believe how it works, the fenbendazole, is it interferes with the tubulin polymerization. You need that for cancer cell division. And they believe that what they think it could do is arrest in the G2M phase. They also think it could reduce the glucose uptake and consumption by downregulating GLUT, glut transporters, and hexokinase 2, trying to starve the cancer cells. This is all according to Google AI. From ariarjournals.org, that it can enhance the accumulation of reactive oxygen species, activating P53, which could lead to cancer cell death, and possibly then limit metastasis. Unfortunately, again, this is mice studies. It's not all cancer cell lines also. This is looking at lung, colorectal, breast, and lymphoma. Now, we are starting to hear of some people go, wait a second, I've tried it, I'm working, and this, it's called anecdotal evidence. When Mel Gibson has friends who said they took it and they're fine, it's still a form of evidence. It's not a clinical trial evidence, and it might not be scientifically statistically significant, but validated. But anecdotally is when somebody says they did something and it worked. We have to look into it. I think we should. But the fenbendazole, the veterinary dewormer, not necessarily at all allowed to be used in humans. It's not approved for FDA human use. Can affect your liver, because we know that it could happen. It could affect the liver in animals. So it's not something that we recommend as humans. Should we study and look into it? Absolutely. With ivermectin, they think what ivermectin does is inhibit the proliferation of tumors. It could inhibit the tumor growth, induce cell death, enhance immune responses. These are things that they believe in animals might later translate to humans. In terms of the mechanism of action, it's a little different than the dewormer. With this, they think it might inhibit angiogenesis, which is the blood vessel formation necessary in tumors. Tumors have to be very vascular, so it might limit that. It may also help reverse resistance to chemotherapy. And so allowing a tumor from being cold to hot, being more responsive. Again, we don't have enough studies in humans. There is a phase 2 trial going on right now, looking at ivermectin in combination with immunotherapies for metastatic triple-negative breast cancer. So that's very, very cool. But what's been happening is, people think that the CDC or the government is going to go too slow on this. I know RFK Jr. wants to look into this. And you always hear the liberals go, oh, this is ridiculous, this or whatever. Look, as far as I'm concerned, okay, when it comes to cancer, we got to look at everything. But again, we're limited because for us to do these trials, if we don't want you to get standard care or miss out on getting standard care. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything to help you survive. And so oftentimes with a lot of these human critical trials is for people that might fail standardized care. And they're like, look, I'm at my wit's end. I'll try anything. And so, sometimes that's where you get the patient population where they haven't done well or they've had resistance to chemotherapy and common anti-cancer treatments. So, it's exciting to know that there are some human clinical trials in the works. I don't know how long it's going to be until we have anything definitive on that. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
1-877-DOC Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, this is interesting, right? One of the biggest debates and issues making headlines is tampon dispensers in men's rooms. And apparently UVA, the University of Virginia, has installed tampon dispensers in men's restrooms on campus. Students are upset about that. And they said the move is absurd, quote unquote, and a waste of resources. The dispensers offer free tampons and pads, have appeared as campus buildings. And according to a student, they told Campus Reform in a May 4th article, whenever the dispensers are in male restrooms, I just think it's a waste of university resources. Quote, instead of focusing on rising costs like tuition and food, the university is pursuing policy initiatives that don't meaningfully help the student body. A public policy student in his fourth year at UVA said he noticed tampon dispensers in the men's restroom. This was near the Department of Music and Music Library. And he even found, and he's in public policy, he even found that being odd. A freshman told Campus Forum that having tampon dispensers in male restrooms on campus didn't make sense, stating, I think seeing these in a male restroom is weird, totally unnecessary, and absurd. So what's really, this is interesting, and I don't know if I'm wording this correctly, but if I see a tampon dispenser in a men's restroom, I think trap. I think somebody going in to get one can be trapped. Now, I love men. I feel safe among men, but a woman going into a male's restroom can be vulnerable, especially if there's bad actors in there. There's good people, no, you're fine. And so the first thing that I thought of, it wasn't woke, it wasn't transgenderism, it wasn't any of that. It was, there's a female who's going to be in a men's bathroom, and others are going to know that she has a vagina because she's going up to the tampon machine, identified as a he. That person could be a risk. Like that young girl who was taken from her parents because her parents did not want her to transition, and the school put her in an all-boys school as she was identified as a boy, and she was raped and assaulted there. I mean, we have some bad actors. We have some bad people out there. I'm not saying everybody's bad. But if somebody thinks that everybody, as soon as they hear that you're transgender, that everybody's going to be like, oh, hands off. We're going to respect you. We're going to, no. People of the LGBTQIA plus community get assaulted. They get brutalized. And so when I kind of see that, I'm like, I understand why they're doing it, so that if there is a biological female who needs to grab a tampon, they could do that and they don't have to go into a female restroom if they have to. But I feel like men seeing somebody go up to that, now that could, unless you have the whole bathroom to yourself, which is why I always say, maybe what we need to do is just have the unisex self one seat bathrooms, or the one stall bathrooms, where we have a lot of those on the West Coast, where at movie theaters, etc., it's just one door. A man could go in, a female could go in, but it's themselves. They could lock it behind them, and they aren't in a bathroom with other people. And that's kind of how we might have to do this, rather than paying for tampon dispensers. The other thing that comes to my mind as it pertains to tampon dispensers is it's always empty. Okay, there were tampon dispensers in my bathrooms in when I went to school. If I needed a tampon or a pad, the last place to go to was the dispenser because they never had any. There was never any in there. Either somebody stole them all or nobody refilled them. So if I ever needed something, I would be like, I'm sorry, do any of you guys have an extra tampon or an extra pad? or I would use a bunch of toilet paper, and then I would go run to, the store or whatever. And it's not easy. It's nice to have those in the bathroom, but it's not, something that actively people are, expecting there to be something in there. And so a concern I have is you're going to have boys will be boys, and obviously, by the way, these tampon dispensers were empty in the girls' room. So that means women are either taking them or they got used up pretty quickly. But my guess is there's not going to be anything in there. And somebody's going to have to keep on replacing and replacing and replacing, and that's going to cost a lot of money. One student said they shouldn't be in the men's bathroom because such a device is to be used by women who already have their own separate bathroom. This is UVA. All right. So, this is in Virginia. And it's not necessarily in fact, it leans more Democrat than anything. And now they have a Democratic governor. And so, but there's politics, and then there's, okay, let's look at the practicality of these things. Now, do the men's bathrooms have garbages? You have the urinals, and then there's a stall or two for the poops. You're going to have to put a garbage for, tampons. And then you're also going to have to train boys what that is. Most boys don't go into bathrooms and know what that is. They might stick their hand in there, try to hide their vape pen. You're not going to want to put your hand in there because there could be some blood in there. It could be pretty disgusting. And it's I get, we are having a rapidly evolving, growing population of individuals who are identifying as their non-biological sex. And if you're an adult, you're free to do, this is what America allows you to do. This is what, our men and women fought for you to have the freedom of doing. But when it starts to kind of involve other people, that starts to bring more and more of the question. And one way it involves other people is tax dollars. You want to transition, you want to do your thing, that's great. But if you're expecting, there to be tax funding money to go to these things, like you're transitioning, etc., now you're going to get other opinions. Let's say, God forbid, I wanted to get an abortion, which I would never do. But let's say I would never want to expect that my neighbor would pay for it or my boss would pay for it, because then they're going to want to have an opinion. But that's what we're doing with the abortion case. I think the average person really doesn't want anybody else involved with the decision. They just want to make up their mind, do what they need to do, talk to their doctor, etc. But we bring everybody else into it. So, if I was a guy in this day and age where Me Too, and you could be accused of assault. If I was a guy and I saw that there was a tampon dispenser in the bathroom, I'd be like, oh, whoa, wait a second. There could be a woman in here with me. And then I could be accused of assault if anything happened. I'm getting the hell out of here. It's interesting. I had a breast MRI the other day, and both of the techs were men. Really nice guys. I didn't mind that I had two men there. I'm comfortable being naked in front of men. It's okay. All right. Yeah. But there were two of them, because this way one can't be accused of, nobody can accuse it. There has to be a witness. It has to be, and I was wondering if the guys have that anxiety of, oh boy, because I'm a dude, somebody's going to claim I did something wrong. So I made them feel very comfortable with no big deal, not, we're all good, whatever. Went very smoothly. But if I was a guy and I was worried that I was going to be alone with it's he said, she said. And if more people will believe the female, and understandably so, because women have been brutalized and bad things have happened to women in the past, I would be like, I'm getting the hell out of here. Because if I'm a guy going into the guy's restroom, I should be able to pee, poop, whatever, and then not have to worry that I could be accused of something. Because I'm in the guy's space. I'm not in the girl's space. If I walk into the girl's room, I could be in trouble. But I'm not. I'm guilty until proven innocent if I walk into the girl's room. But if I'm in the guy's room, I'm doing the guy thing. I'm among guys. I'm not touching anybody. But I'm not sure what's going to happen in terms of that. And so when guys say, look, I feel kind of uncomfortable because this is our space. And people say, well, guys don't deserve space. Yeah, they do. They do need a space to go, just like girls do. So, having the tampons there is nice, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to run out of money because somebody's going to empty it or tape them to the mirror or do whatever or stick them up their nose. And, you might want to come up with a better way where people could get their free tampons. 1-877-DOLLY.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Excuse me. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she I know has political ambitions beyond where she is right now as a representative. I know that when she was asked if she would run for president, she's like she wants to do something beyond that. She wants to change the world. She tried to give that answer, and of course she wants to run for president. Who doesn't? Lifetime of Secret Service, make the history books. She's going to want to run for president. And so she's been on a tangent, in terms of anti-rich. And one of the latest things she had said is somebody doesn't earn $1 billion. And she was on a podcast, and the person was like, yeah, you're right, yeah. Everything you're saying is right. And she said that nobody earns it. They might manipulate the market, exploit labor, but they don't earn it. Now, I find that a fascinating, shall we say, statement, when one thing she and a lot of her progressive counterparts keep saying is the idea that if you're rich, you're always going to get to be rich. That the rich have much easier opportunities than the non-rich. And so if the rich get richer and the rich have opportunities and they're privileged and they're, and I know somebody could say, well, technically, her using the term earned is a little different, but there's a little bit of hypocrisy in there. I mean, nobody's just given $1 billion, mind you. Okay. To me, earning money was, me working at Jack in the Box, right? And making $4.50 an hour, and then me waiting tables, making about $1.50 an hour and hustling for tips. Or somebody doing construction and housekeeping. And I mean, to me, that's, you're earning your, by manual labor and by, you're really working. You got blood, sweat, and tears. However, a billionaire does earn. If you understand, what the term means, if they are, doing, making deals, making investments, making decisions, things like that, they're still earning. Yeah, and the idea that, well, if somebody's a billionaire, they're just giving it, and we could go after them, and we could just pay, for the billionaires, and one thing about billionaires is they're very, very smart, and they know what to do with their money. Like, was it Ilhan Omar who had multi-millions of dollars, and then she was kind of asked about that as it related to the Minnesota fraud? So then now she's like, oh, no, I don't have that money. Okay, one thing that the rich know how to do is hide their money. And so when you hear that in California and New York, they're, all these places, they want to really, tax the ultra rich. And what comedians and what liberal pundits are saying is if you tax 1% of a billionaire, they're still a billionaire. When you say it like that, people are like, well, then they're fine. They still get to be a billionaire. They still get to be, it's different than that. When you squeeze a rich person, they turn around and squeeze us. And I'm not saying we leave Jeff Bezos alone, because, we don't want him to up the prices of Amazon or things like that. But the rich people know how to make money, and they have the ability to do that. And so if they are going to be losing millions, even if they're a billionaire, these billionaires didn't get to be billionaires by losing millions. There's going to be some sort of retribution. And it's not going to fall on the politician. It's going to fall on the consumer. And that person is going to want to make that money back. It's not that these people have $1 billion in the bank. If they are worth $1 billion, and that's how it would be, is all your assets worth this much? And I'm not feeling sorry for anybody who's a billionaire. There's not a lot of them out there. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm grateful Bill Gates has a foundation and things like that, and that and all that. But I'm not. They're not the biggest heroes to this. But if they are running a company and that company, that's where they get their money, and they use their $1 billion or assets are their properties, is their security, they're going to want to keep that up. See, people think if somebody's really, really rich, it's just money sitting in the bank. So a sliver of that money will leave the bank and nobody's going to notice it. No, that's not how it works. If they are, one thing a billionaire has is a financial manager. They have an accountant. And somebody is going to say, if you're going to be losing this money, this is where we have to pull it from. And they don't want to pull it from other areas. They're going to be angry. They're going to well, rather than take the hit, how do we absorb it? And billionaires will hire people to figure out how to absorb the hit. Well, if you charge an extra 25 cents, if you charge an extra $3, if you cut jobs, if you do, and so that's what ends up happening. And so, look at how Ocasio-Cortez did not want Amazon in her state, in her district. Well, that just cut jobs. That just, your anti-rich approach, is actually can hurt others. And I'm not saying we need the rich for us to survive and have jobs, and they're the biggest heroes. But I got to tell you, many of us benefit, from Amazon. I tell you, I'm benefiting from Amazon because I'm spending less at Walmart. Amazon has saved me tons of money. I probably spend more money on an Amazon product than I would at Walmart, but gone are the days where I needed to run into a Walmart for toothpaste and I walk out of there spending $200. I'm able to just go on Amazon, get that toothpaste, and because I have Prime, get free shipping. And maybe overall, I might be still spending, a decent amount, but I'm spending less. I'm spending less overall. And if Jeff Bezos is making money and is a multi-million, if not billionaire, for what he's doing, if I'm benefiting from it, I'm okay. If my patients have jobs at Amazon, if the paper company has jobs and the boxing companies and the taping companies have jobs and the delivery drivers have jobs. I understand later that's all going to be automated. And the robot creators and the air conditioning technicians, and if these, the website developers, if they have jobs, there's some value there. And I'm not saying we keep all the billionaires, and I don't want to think that every billionaire stole from people, and because that's kind of the argument that these liberals make is, well, they stole from you, let's get that back. Well, then if that's the case, go after the universities and get money back from the financial rape they're doing with students and their $60,000 a year degrees. And the out of state costs and things like there's fees and tuitions and all that. Still COVID. A lot of these universities are still charging for COVID remote benefits and learning opportunities. And my children are like, look, I want to go onto campus. Can I not have to pay the COVID fees? I don't want to do remote. Let me go onto campus. Save the money. Can't. Nope. You got to pay the fees. So you really want to go after somebody who's been kind of taking, from a vulnerable population. Go to the universities and academia. But you see the hypocrisy. Don't be saying the rich get richer and the rich get this, and then you're like, well, they don't earn their money. You just said that if somebody's rich, they get opportunities that poor people don't. So then, and I understand somebody could say, well, she's still technically saying that. I think they're all full of hypocrisy. And right now, the Democrats are having a tough time being anti-man. And they've lost a lot of people with the anti-man. So they got to be anti-something. And they are also finding being anti-Trump isn't always working for them. So now it's anti-rich and anti-billionaires. We got to find somebody to hate. And that's what they're doing. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Did you ever boo a speaker? When you were in school, did you sit there and boo? Unless, it was a comedian or they wanted you to boo. Let's say principal's like, so how many of you guys like homework? Boo. No, but if you had a speaker that was talking about something, and, we have grown this, we have progressed in this, would you ever boo? No, you would be pretty respectful, unless you felt like you weren't being heard. You felt like you really, really don't think the techs or the CEOs or whoever the speaker is understands how you really feel about something. Well, these students, this probably is one time I'll allow the boos. Okay? Apparently, this is from University of Central Florida. And the graduation speaker was Gloria Caulfield. She seems like a nice lady. She's vice president of strategic alliances at Tavistock Development Company. But she was talking about how AI is, quote, the next industrial revolution. Well, as soon as she starts talking about that, it's funny because I'm listening to this and I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I didn't have to think long because the students were already boo, boo. And then you can hear in the background, AI sucks. You can't hear really loud, so I don't have the clip for you. But you can tell somebody's like, AI sucks. See, that person's got some 80s influence. We did used to do that in the 80s. If we didn't like something, you didn't just boo. You're like, that sucks. That blows. So she said only a few years ago, AI was not a factor in our lives. And people were then cheering. So she looked a little shocked and she goes, oh, I love it. Passion. Let's go. But you could tell she was a little shocked. She probably thought that she was going to sit there and everybody was going to listen and go, yay, yay, AI, yay. And instead it was like, boo, AI sucks. She spent about 3 of her 11 minutes praising AI, comparing current skepticism to past concerns surrounding technology such as the internet, email, and cell phones. She says it's a game changer for global economic development and the proliferation of new businesses that never existed, like Apple and Google and Meta and so many others. And so what's interesting is on one end, wow, what we've been able to do with tech. Whoa. I mean, I had to do math and trigonometry by hand. And I understood, we had calculators, but we weren't allowed to use the calculators for a lot of our tests. And, the calculators, go put the calculators away. And now, I mean, we walk around with our calculators. We walk around with what our phones are able to do. I forget a fact. I could just ask my phone and it gives, I could translate to somebody. If I forget a word in Spanish, I could very easily use the phone to, I mean, it's amazing what these apps and things are. It blows my mind. The problem is even though we have a very tech hungry, tech friendly, tech enthusiastic world right now and population, they're just a little more enthusiastic about eating, about paying their rent. And so for those of us that have tried to apply to jobs and the AI bot, I remember one time I applied, it was for a visiting professor, a side teaching job. And the bot rejected my application before I got the email saying, thank you for applying. Our team is going to review. I go, but your bot already rejected it. I mean, these college students are sitting there listening to these commencement speakers going, you got a job. You apparently got a good job. If you get to sit here and speak to us, you might have even gotten paid for this. Hair looks nice, makeup, nails done. We have student loan debt, and we can't even pavement pound to get a job anymore. It was funny. When my son years ago was in high school, and I'm like, go get a job. He's like, well, how do I do that? I go, well, you pavement pound. Go up to this, go up to Jack in the Box, go up to McDonald's, go and ask for a job. He's like, Mom, when I do that, they say just go online. And I go, no. You want to have a face-to-face with the manager. You want Mom, they're not giving you applications anymore. This was about 10 years ago. And I'm like, but then how do you, online, they won't get to see you. They won't get to see that sparkle in your eye. They won't get to see your grit, your drive. And it's, that's the way things are doing. That's the way they're hiring now. And then jobs are getting replaced. You're asked to train your AI. So you have somebody up there wanting us to be excited about the new industrial revolution. She's not wrong. AI is the next industrial revolution. The difference with that is it's displacing jobs. And people are not happy about it. And I don't like to see college students boo a speaker because you want to be respectful. But she was kind of not reading her audience. If you're going to be a techie, you got to understand who you're. I taught students. I had to understand, just because I was excited about, a study or something that they were going to be tested on doesn't mean they're going to be excited. Okay. What is their point of view? They're scared to death they're going to kill the patient. They're scared to death they won't pass their boards. So I have to understand every time I'm teaching, where are they coming from? How do I engage them? The 3 E's. You want to engage, educate, and enlist. You engage somebody by, hi, welcome back to Dr. Dahlia Show. We're going to be talking about this. I don't really engage you guys too much, but I should. Or, guys, you're going to want to know this. It's going to be on the test. Then you educate them. And then once you've educated them and engaged them, now you can enlist them. So I want you to study this for the test. I want you to know this. I want you to go out and save the world. That's what you have to do. In fact, the 3 E's, very well done by Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford spoke, I believe, at ASU, Arizona State University. Much different speech. Harrison Ford talked about squandering his life when he was younger with riotous living, unquote. He's 83 years old. And he said he didn't make the best choices when he was young. Okay, now that's engaging. He said he found himself in drama class looking for an easy A grade. But while he was there, he fell in love with acting. He said, hiding in character, costume, and makeup, I had a freedom, a bravery I had never felt before. And I got an A. He said, I realized, present for possibly the very first time in my life. My passion had led me to community. Now, he worked carpentry jobs to pay the bills, to support his family. He said, even after Star Wars, when things got easier, still things weren't quite right. He said, the load lightened, I had freedom, opportunity, but still something was missing. So he went on, obviously, Indiana Jones, Blade Runner, and all the other movies he's done. But he said he wanted to, go to activism. He said, humanity is a part of nature. These communities have long understood that trees, the mountain, water, soil are not commodities. They are relatives to be cherished. He said, we can all play a role by embracing that wisdom in our day-to-day lives, by loving the planet, by honoring nature's authority, her generosity, the bounty she affords us, the justice of her example. He said, because the world you're stepping into, the world my generation left you, is a real mess. Find a place for yourself, whatever talent or ambition you have. Find some way to put it. So you see, now he's enlisting. He engaged them, educated them. Now he's enlisting them. He said, build something that didn't exist yesterday. Stand up for someone who can't stand up for themselves. Bring people together that weren't talking before. That's leadership. That's what moves the needle. And so, I don't think it was booed. Now, I think people like to speech. So, but if you're going to go and you're going to speak, and we're going to have a lot of, I'm going to graduation this weekend. You're going to have a lot of speakers out there. If you think everybody is going to cheer them not getting a job and tech people figuring out ways to save money because labor costs are so high, think again. If I were, an AI executive, I would give advice on how to enjoy this industrial revolution and make the most of it. I don't think they have that content in their speech. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.